who we are. And if you're not, then get out of the way and let somebody that's not ashamed of what they are stand up and be that. I tell a lot of civil rights leaders, Red Mal, you still out there marching, you still going to jail, you still talking back. That's right. Well, we have a new strategy. Well, what is it? We have a new style. What is it? We got a new plan. Well, what is it? If you're scared, say you're scared. Go act like you got a new strategy. Go act like you figured out something we can't figure out. If you're scared, say I'm scared and sit down and shut up and let somebody that's not scared stand up and say what we do. We must stop apologizing for being right. We must stop taking down when we ought to be standing up. This country can only work from the bottom up. Freedom and equality and fairness have never come from the top down. It always comes from the bottom up. And if the bottom and those that represent the bottom won't stand up, then how are we ever going to get this corrected? So my challenge to you, and my challenge to all in labor, but particularly the minorities in labor, is for us to regain a sense of who we are, and why we are, and who we represent, and stand up and do that with unabashed pride, because we represent the best in America and the best in this culture. And there's nothing for us to back down for. Look at where we are and look at what we survived. I look at great pride at the achievements that was made, but I also know that those achievements didn't happen by themselves. January of 2009, I came to this city for the inauguration of the president. I will never forget, I was getting off the shuttle. And a young white brother stopped me getting off the plane and said, Reverend Al, I said, yes. He said, it's going to be a great day. I said, yes, it will. He said, and you know what really got to me? I said, what is that? He said, I was really touched when I read in the paper how then Senator Obama was going to be inaugurated, putting his hand on the Bible of Abraham Lincoln. I said, well, it probably touched me more than did you. Reason why you say that? I said, because what you may not know is that when Lincoln put his hand on that Bible, it was against the law for my people to even be able to read that Bible. It was against the law for us to read and write in the middle of the 19th century. And to think we've gone from false legal illiteracy to where in 2 nights, a black man and woman would take their black daughters up to Lincoln's bedroom to go to bed. Show me how far we've come. We've come a long way. But we came with struggle. We came with sacrifice. We came with people that put a higher commitment over their own personal self-aggrandizement and personal greed. And in the end, life is not about what you accumulate. Life is about who you are. I tell people everywhere I go, the hardest job of a black preacher is to preach the funeral of an irrelevant person. That's a hard job. They roll the body down the aisle, lay it out in front of some altar. Families sit up on the front row crying and carrying on. And we supposed to get up and hallucinate a life in you never lived. I mean, most folks shouldn't even have a funeral. Most folks should go straight from the morgue to the cemetery. Because most folks haven't done anything anybody can talk about. Got them a nice house. Your house will be on the market 2 days after you got them a nice car, we drive all over town. The only thing that will matter 2 minutes after you gone is what you've done for more than yourself. Did you stand for something? Yes. Did you make your better man better? Did you fight for those that couldn't fight for themselves? Did you speak for those that had no voice? That's all that's going to matter when you go. Over a year ago, I did the eulogy at Michael Jackson's burial, and I never forget coming out the cemetery that night. A very well-known artist stopped me and said to me, "Reverend Al," I said, "Yes." He says, "I was really touched by your eulogy." I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "No, it really moved me." I said, "Well, thank you." He says, "And if I die first, I want you to give a eulogy just like that for me." I said, "Well, you got to give me something to work with." You should think every day you get up that if this is my last day, if for whatever reason I am spending my last hours, what can they say about me? What has my life meant? What has my purpose meant? Yeah, I have a title, but have I done something with the title? Yes, I have rank, but have I used the rank? And if you're not satisfied with your own answer, you ought to leave this conference and go to work. Not for the union, but for yourself. To fulfill who you are. And to know that you pushed the envelope as far as you could. To do the most you could for those that depended and trusted you to be something for them that they couldn't be themselves. They voted for you and put you in position, hoping that you would make their voice heard. Not that you'd enjoy yourself, not that you'd have pleasure at their expense, and nothing wrong with having fun, but get the work done. Because had there not been those ahead of you that did the work and did the sacrifices, we wouldn't be meeting in the Capitol Hill today. They didn't invite us here. They didn't invite us here. There was no meeting of the executive boards of the major hotels. We fought that we could come in ballrooms. We fought that we could come downtown Washington, D.C. And we're going to have to fight to keep these doors open because the forces are trying to close the doors again on labor and civil rights. The good news is that our parents beat Jim Crow, and we can beat James Crow Jr. Esquire. He's a little slicker, a little more polished, got a little more sophistication, on the cable station and a lot of radio now. But just like our parents beat their fathers, we can beat them. Because we are our fathers and mothers' children. And in us, if we would just be us, is the power and determination to overcome them. Because right is still stronger than wrong. Labor must come alive again. We must get out of this corporate style. And we've got to get our hands dirty again. We've got to organize again. We've got to not be afraid of being controversial again. Those that built the labor movement were called all kinds of names. Castigated, red-baited, everything you could think of. But they took all of that and built one of the greatest movements known to mankind. You cannot inherit the reins of that movement and now want to be approved and popular and loved by those that sit high and look low. Because that is not what this movement was about, and that is not what this movement is for. This is a movement of rugged people that went against the grain and made a way for those that people thought would never be anything, but that made this country work in the first place. I end by saying that there's a story in the Bible that reminds me of today. There's a story about a man named David. David was a king in Israel. And any of you that know the Bible know the story. David was selected by Prophet Samuel to be the new king. Now, when Samuel went to choose the new king, even David's daddy didn't think he was the one to be chosen. He went to David's daddy's house, his name was Jesse, and said, one of your sons is going to be the new leader. David's daddy brought out all the older boys because he thought that they were the gifted and the talented one. One tall and strapping, looked like a leader. Samuel said no. Another one was articulate and eloquent and could speak well. No. And when they got down past all the boys and it seemed like Samuel was in the wrong house, he said, well, do you have any more sons? And almost as an afterthought, he said, well, yeah, I got one more, but he's just a kid. He's just a shepherd boy. He was a laborer out there in the fields, taking care of the sheep. Many of you know what it is to be an afterthought. Nobody thought you had no gifts. Nobody thought you had no talent. Nobody sent for you. An afterthought. And when they brought David in, that became the one that Samuel anointed. And when they went to war, and all of the well-trained, all of those that were skilled in warfare was afraid to fight Goliath, this shepherd boy took a little slingshot and took down the giant, earned the crown of king. Yes. But now we get to the end of his life and he's old and feeble and facing death's door. And he had promised that his heir was going to be one of his sons, Solomon. But one of his other sons decided he was going to intercept and steal the crown through a banquet and got all the people together and started saying Adoniah is going to be the new king. There was a prophet in town named Nathan. Nathan said, wait a minute, this is not what David said. And he went to Solomon's mother, Bathsheba. You didn't know the Bible, know Bathsheba was his scandalous wife. He had went with Bathsheba when she was married to somebody else, you know, all that tabloid stuff. But God has a strange way of taking mess and get a message out of it. All that stuff they put out on labor leaders, all that mess don't matter. If God got a point, he can take what looks ugly and bring beauty out of it. Because for whatever reason, the son of Bathsheba was the one that David had promised the crown. Nathan said, Bathsheba, didn't David promise your son the crown? Didn't he promise your son would be the heir to his kingdom? She said, yes. He said, well, do you know Adonai and his mother's having banquets and parties and they're trying to steal the crown? You must go to David and remind him he promised you the crown. And while you're talking to him, I'll come in and confirm to him the plot that Adonai and them have partaken in. And Bathsheba thought about it and went to David. She was trembling, she was scared, she was nervous, but she was determined that I'm not going to let them steal my crown. I come to tell you today that there are those in Washington, there are those in state capitals that are trying to steal our crown. We fought from the back of the bus to the front of City Hall. We fought from the outhouse to the White House. We fought from being the victims of apartheid and the victims of no workers' rights. And we changed this country and we opened it up for blacks and Latinos and gays